Welcome to the Inside Housing Podcast with Renick, where we talk housing, real estate, and investments. Here we go. All right, Jack. Welcome to Inside Housing Podcast.
Well, thank you.
How you doing?
Good to be here.
Glad you could make it. I mean, we got the sign behind Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Vermont Realty Group,
Impressive.
It's something.
Yeah.
So we got a lot to talk about today. And for anybody that doesn't know you, what would be the first thing that you would say to someone to know who Jack Russell is?
I really don't know, but my secretary said something funny last week that I thought I got a kick out of. I said, I'm not really sure what my job is anymore. And she said to me, you're the person they go to when they don't know who to go to.
Okay. All right. So how long have you been in real estate for you to be that person that you are now?
Well, I'm not sure it's about being in real estate, but I think we went in real estate I got out of college and I taught high school and coached basketball for a year. I was working on my master's degree in education. And I took the summer off and worked construction, and I worked as a security guard, and I got my real estate license. And so I actually earned more money in that summer than I made teaching and coaching all year, And so I decided that I'd take a few more years, and that's when I got my real estate license, thinking that I would go back to teaching and education and coaching. But from then on, we opened our own real estate company a year later, my wife Lynn and I. So I've been in the real estate business since 1972.
So I'm always curious, what first drew you to real estate, though?
I played a lot of sports, and I was used to interacting with people. I liked working with people. I liked coaching. And I think really it was the whole idea that to get in the business where you could contribute to people in a way that you could change lives. I mean, that's why I went into education, I think, and I think that I realized as I got into the real estate business, there was so much opportunity to do so much. And being competitive, I looked at the real estate industry and I saw a lot of, 3-generational old companies and so on, and I said, I don't think there's that much competition.
Oh, okay. Did that turn out to be true?
Yeah, I mean, when you work, there's no competition.
Okay. Did you have family that were in real estate or the business?
I had Lynn's father was in the construction industry, and he was a tremendous help to me. I grew up in Jersey City. When you ask about the real estate business, I didn't even know anybody who owned a house. So never mind, knowing a lot about real estate. And when I worked construction, one of the funny stories was somebody told me to go down to the basement and shut off the power. They said, go shut off the power. We got to do this work on this job. And I said, I'm not climbing up that pole. I didn't know there was an electric box in the basement to shut the power off.
Okay. So a little bit of a learning curve. So you're from Jersey City, though. So how'd you get to Vermont? Like that's a jump. Like there's got to be a story there.
Jersey City is the Beverly Hills of New Jersey. Most people coming out of there are basketball players when they come to college in New England. So I had a lot of basketball scholarships, and St. Michael's was one that was really attractive to me. I knew some people that had played for St. Michael's, and the Jesuits, where I came out of a Jesuit high school, never forgave me for going to an Edmondite school. And so they wanted me to go to Georgetown or Holy Cross or Fairfield, but I have nothing but gratitude for the fact that I went to St. Michael's. It's been a tremendous place to go. Vermont's been tremendous. Lynn and I got married after we got out of college, so I got a lot to be grateful for.
So that's what brought you to Vermont initially. You just came here to play basketball.
Yeah.
What did you play? What position?
In high school, I was probably the smallest guy on the team. We were 6'8", 6'9", and all that. When I got to college, a couple of years, I played every position aside from center. We lost some 3 or 4 guys that were 6'8" or 6'9", and they moved me to forward from point guard or to shooting guard or whatever. So I played a lot of positions, ones I never would have anticipated if I'd probably gone somewhere else, but pretty much mostly point guard.
Okay. So you're playing point, you come up to Vermont, you're playing basketball, and if we fast forward to today, you've had a real estate business for a better part of 50 years, one of the most trusted companies in the state. going back to you playing basketball and sports, how did that help you, right? Because there's a mindset there, isn't there?
One of the things, times are different, but when I was playing at St. Michael's, we played at Memorial Auditorium downtown. And to a certain extent, we were almost like the Notre Dame of Chittenden County. We had a great following of a lot of the locals came to all the games. Games were sold out. There were people waiting outside to get in. And there was a culture. There was a culture there of closeness with the community. I think we lost that a little bit when we moved out of downtown Burlington and moved up to the campus in Colchester. I think having played at St. Michael's, being in Vermont, being in a small community, sports opens so many doors. You know, you walk into a place and people talk about basketball or they remember a game or something like that. So I'm so grateful, really, that I did play sports because it just gave me so many opportunities and you learn so much. I played for great coaches. You know, some of the coaches I played for in high school and college are legendary. And they convey a lot more sometimes than you might learn in the classroom.
And you were just recognized at St. Mike's, right?
Out of the blue, the coach came to me about 2 or 3 weeks ago and said, "We'd like to recognize you and Walter Bauman, who was a tremendous basketball coach, legendary All-American at St. Michael's College, ahead of me." And they wanted to recognize Walter and myself, not for like being in the Hall of Fame, that kind of stuff, but for what we've contributed to the college and to the sports program. So they brought us out in between the men's game and the women's game, and they gave us a plaque. And it was a very, very nice event. And a lot of people came that I knew that I hadn't talked to in a while. And it was a really nice thing for the college to do. Kind of totally caught us by surprise. And it was especially beneficial for me because Walter, like me, Walter came out of Hoboken.
Okay.
And Jersey City is the cousin to Hoboken, and we had so much in common. Although he was a lot older than me, and he was a great coach and such a classy individual, a mentor to me in a lot of ways, and certainly a great friend over the years.
So you've had a number of different recognitions, right? It's sort of like these lifetime recognitions. So you look back, and what are some of the ones that kind of stick out to you?
Well, one of the ones that I got one time was I had the honor of, and I still do, of serving as an honorary commander for the Air National Guard. Our role has been to promote the National Guard, help them recruit, kind of help them with whatever issues they have. And there's a lot of CEOs in the organization. Well, at a meeting, again, totally surprise to me, I was sitting next door to the chaplain, and they decided to create an award in honor of the outgoing wing commander after 34 years. It was named after him. And they created that Smith Award, and they started talking about the award and so on. And I was looking around to see who got it, and I really didn't hear what they said. And the chaplain said to me, "Are you going to go up on the stage or not?" And I said, "For what?" And he said, "Because you just got that award." Well, you know, I still get emotional because of that, but I think of all the great work that the National Guard, you know, does for our country and for us in Vermont, and all the sacrifices the family makes. And for me to get an award like that just caught me off guard. So anyway, it's awards like that that mean something. But that one had a lot of meaning for me and is an example of, you know, the things you could feel good about.
So, you know, that's one of the things that, for anybody that knows you, is you've turned this bit of like an iconic status in the state in terms of real estate into a position where people call you for help, advice. Is that like just a mindset you've always had, which is I'm here to help and provide and give opportunities to others? Like how's that mindset set in?
I think in some ways I've always had it. Although we didn't have any money, I had the benefit of a Catholic education from the time I went to grammar school, high school, and so on. And I think that the tradition of giving and caring about other people and what comes across by the nuns and by the Jesuit priests and ultimately the Edmundite priests of St. Michael's is the situation that when you're successful, when you've been given so much, you feel like you have to give something back.
So how did you, if you're looking then at real estate, and this is a saying that you've always had, which is real estate has been that vehicle to get you from where you are to where you want to be. When did you learn that?
I think, like I said, I didn't know much about real estate, but I saw the opportunity in real estate, and I think my father-in-law, who was a very, very disciplined builder and a very successful mentor, he actually retired right after I got in the real estate business, but his guidance and his encouragement that I could learn the business and that not don't worry about learning it, just go ahead and do it. And that's always been my feeling is that there's too much thinking about things that people do. There's too much planning. Just go ahead and make the mistakes. Go ahead, take the chance. I mean, when you're young and you got out of college and you don't own anything, what do you got to risk? The first house we had, we put sheets on the windows. I didn't look at the windows from the outside. It's like you can only go up from here.
Okay.
When I bought my first house, I thought, oh my God, if I lose my job, I'll never be able to make the payments. We were making $6,000 a year. I made $6,000. Lynn made a little less, and that was teaching and coaching. And I met this guy who talked me into paying $750 for motivational tapes. And after I bought the motivational tapes, I remember the name of the company. It was called Success Motivation Institute. I think Lynn was going to kill me. And
you bought tapes with this?
I bought the tapes with that.
Okay.
And I listened to those tapes until they wouldn't run anymore, you know. But I think it was just more encouragement that you can do whatever you want to do. And certainly in basketball, you know, it wasn't easy to make the teams in the schools I played at. Hours and hours and, you know, never going home from the playgrounds and playing against the best and learning to get beat up a few times. All that stuff, you just learn.
So how would someone take that and start off now?
I think that there's so much opportunity right now. I think every day there's an opportunity. Certainly AI and all the stuff that's going on. I think we got to spend more and more time in the colleges, in the curriculum, on relationships and building relationships. Real estate, the technical part of real estate is easy to learn. The challenge of dealing with people and helping them make the decisions that are so important to themselves, that's about having a culture where you're open to helping people. It's not about us as agents or in the real estate business. It's about having a network of people that you've been able to say, I did a great job for them, and you can call them up 3 years later or still have them as friends 3 years later and say, I still have a great relationship with those people, and it's not about selling them anything.
Yeah, I think we were actually attending, I think it was one of your CEO groups, and the question was asked, and it said, what would be your ideal client, right? Because if you think about it, whether it's real estate or any other business, anything that's customer service, you have clients. And defining what your client is important. And you made the statement that your ideal client has the most problems. And like, what do you mean by that?
Well, one of the things that occurs to you in the business is we tend as an industry to all be branded together. And so one of the things that I liked about Berkshire Hathaway was the concept of the forever agent. Because, you know, I've had clients, I've had families that we've had for 40 years as clients. And, you know, when you feel like you've contributed to somebody and to their family, you feel like I must have felt when I got that award. And so it's a very rewarding business if you let it be. And it's all about giving. I mean, yes, you can make money in this industry. You make a lot of money by investing in real estate. But it's all about the connections you have and how you can interact and have those people trust you and you can trust them. You know, one of the things when I kind of talk to the agents or give a little lecture, I tell people that your network is your net worth. And it's not about money. It's about the people you surround yourself with. The people who come back to you after 15 years or 20 years and say, you know, I didn't have enough money for a lawnmower, but when you got me into that house and now I've owned my house for 20 years and now I have enough money to pay for my kids to go to college, that's the reward for being in the business for a long time and having a huge client base that you can actually call up on the phone and say, how are you doing?
Yeah. And you still foster those relationships, right? Constantly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I heard someone say there was a liquor mobile somewhere.
Over the course of years, I used to have fun. I played basketball for, I don't know, like I played up until COVID, so with some of the young kids and so on. But a lot of us that played were older, and it was another group that really bonded well over the years. And I ran a couple of programs in South Burlington, and it was all pickup, you know. And one of the things I used to do every year at Christmas was I used to fill my truck with liquor. And I'd go around to the guys that played basketball, and I'd give them all a bottle of liquor for Christmas and so on. And most recently, though, after I stopped playing, I'd forgotten that, you know, a lot of the players that were playing, that were new at the location we used to play at. So when I went down, I put my Santa outfit on, and I came in the middle of the game, and I stopped the game. And I didn't really think about what I was doing. And the guys who knew me knew what was happening. I gave them all a bottle of liquor for Christmas, and, you know, ho, 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 Merry Christmas. But if you'd seen the expressions on the young guys who were there, they must have thought some drunk came in the parking lot with a Santa outfit and he stopped arguing, you know. But, you know, you get to have fun and you get to enjoy those things. And so that's been an ongoing tradition. And unfortunately, this year I didn't get to do it at Christmas time because my truck was broken down. So now I'm still going around with a little bit of liquor left in my car, but I'm getting there anyway.
So just giving, right? Giving back and helping. So real estate presents all sort of problems for individuals, right? And now, right now, the housing market is, for a lot of younger people, it seems daunting, almost impossible, right? And, you know, we look at things on the news, and the average home buyer, first-time home buyer age is going up to 40, 42. So there's a lot of young people right now that are feeling squeezed out of the market, trapped in sort of that renting cycle. So, you know, it's easy to say, take a risk, do it, but like, what would you tell someone in terms of like what housing can do? Because you have a pretty unique view on what housing represents and what a house or real estate represents.
We've been fortunate. We've been able to speak to college students, high school students in some cases, and see what they learn in college and where they're at. And I don't think we teach equity. Equity and the building up of equity is what make people successful. And so when you get an early start on owning real estate, you're building up equity, you're paying off the mortgage, the property may be going up in value, it's giving you some tax deductions. It's doing a lot of things that help you grow your net worth. And growing your net worth, building up equity, is what we should be teaching young people. Now recently, I like the idea that was proposed about giving every newborn baby $1,000 so that by the time they get to be 18, they actually have a net worth. Well, the same thing happened for people in previous generations when they bought that first home. And then they moved up to another one, and they moved their equity. See, we're creating generations without equity.
So talking about equity and how that works, because some of the stats are out there. I think the average homeowner has a net worth of about $400 thousand, whereas the average net worth of a renter is like $10,000, right? So if you were to define the equity for, you know, somebody who's unfamiliar with it, how is that housing doing it? Because what if it goes down? You know, what are some other issues that could cause? And then you're making mortgage payments that are close to rent. So how is that equity really helping you?
It's a challenging question that sometimes doesn't get addressed well by legislators. Really, when you own real estate, you own a bundle of rights: the right to live in the house, the right to rent it, the right to have all those benefits that go with ownership. If we start to take those rights away, we're taking away the rights of people to develop equity, be able to pay their mortgage down. We had to figure out a way to get them in. There have been a lot of programs over the years that got people into housing. First home buyers, they subsidized interest rates, they reduced down payments. And I think that sometimes when they pass a lot of legislation, Dodd-Frank bill, the SAFE Act, all these things that are supposedly out there to help people actually limit the possibilities for people to get into housing. It certainly limited the number of people who could create owner financing. It limited the conditions under which you could get young people in. So when you're protecting a certain group, you have to be aware of the unintended consequences of what you might be doing to the groups you're not protecting. And so I think there's too much regulation around trying to protect everybody and not enough money and assets being put into getting the people into the housing and creating the housing. The single family house may be disappearing.
And you've seen this, right? You've seen there's constantly these barriers. So why are we not able to produce more housing, right? You mentioned a couple things about there's rules, there's regulations, there's zoning, there's permitting, right? And you've been a builder, you've been on the real estate side. So why is that in the way?
Well, when I first started building houses, we were looking at the land cost would be 25% of what we hoped to sell the house for, and we try and keep it in that price range to buy a building lot that was already approved and ready to go.
So when you say the land cost, so if the cost of building the home is, let's say, 100,000, you want that land cost to be around 25,000.
That's right.
Got it.
In a lot of communities, the cost of the lot may be equal to what the cost of the house is. And so the regulations that have affected land over a long period of time have just caused the price of land to go up, 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 up. And it's not just land, it's a whole lot of other things, construction materials and so on. But to think that you could go out and build any kind of single family house, even a small one, with lot costs being so expensive, you just can't justify it. So that's why there's all this, 50 units in a building or build high buildings and so on. I don't know that a lot of people are coming to Vermont, for example. They're coming with a vision of a log cabin looking at the mountains and maybe a brook. And then if we offer them the kind of housing that is a 40-unit condo building, I don't think that's an incentive for them to keep coming to Vermont. I think they want that dream. And so how do you get the people into those kinds of houses if you don't have it? And so more and more, I think it's becoming a challenge for industry to recruit people to Vermont unless the younger groups coming out are willing to adapt to that kind of lifestyle. And again, maybe I'm the guy who wanted the log cabin and, a view of the mountains, but it's about dreams. It's about pushing yourself. And I think in the real estate industry, we don't spend enough time with people coaching them well before they're ready to buy a house and getting them and their family involved in how they're going to have a strategy to get them in sooner. And I think that a lot of time should be spent on that.
So if you were, creating a strategy to do that, there's got to be a number of different ways that someone can come up with, because I feel like we're confined to just one particular way.
Well, it's not buying an expensive car when you're young. It's putting some money aside. It's working 2 jobs. It's whatever it takes. When you start a company, it's whatever it takes, right? If you don't make it, one thing I think people don't realize is when you start companies, I think that every decision you make has to be right. I like to think of it like baseball. If my batting average is over 500, I'm doing pretty good. I think the same thing is true with young people coming up. Don't be afraid to make a mistake. Take some risks. Get together. Buy something collectively. If that's the way you're going to get into your own house, then do it.
I was talking to a client the other day, and we were talking about, hey, are you ready to do this? We're going to go see a home. And I said, how are you going to pay for it? And we got into a long conversation. At the end of it, they said, well, I remember my grandfather had 2 brothers. So there's 3 of them. The 3 brothers took a certain amount of winnings that they had from some lottery ticket or something. Both of them bought a car because they wanted a new car. One of them bought like a derelict property on a lake. And the person I was talking to, that was their grandfather. And they said, well, I'm always interested in investing because my grandfather has a $2 million property on the lake now. And my other 2, I'm pretty sure that car doesn't work anymore. So I think it's a bit of a mindset of understanding that value will still be there. Because do you see housing in general ever going the other direction?
Oh, housing has gone the other direction. But even when it goes the other direction, you don't lose money if you don't have to sell. It's a timing issue. People lose money in the stock market because they try to beat the system. Generally, if they leave the money in over a period of time and don't keep pulling it out and reinvesting it, they make money. Well, the housing market, unless you're forced to sell, it's a question of timing. But I mean, there's all sorts of stories where people had misfortune or divorce or something like that. But, you got to accept that life changes. And no matter what it is, the next day is an opportunity. So you might have had setback. You might have lost your house. Come to us and let us figure out a way to get another one.
It's true. So the one concept that you brought up, which I don't think gets talked about a lot, is the bundle of rights that comes with a house.
Yeah.
What's your sort of understanding definition of the bundle of rights? Because a house is not just a house. It comes with all sorts of things.
Well, the United States is great because it's our bundle of laws that protects the right for you to own a house. It protects the right for you to be able to buy a house, to get a mortgage. That in a lot of places, that's not true. So the bundle of rights is important on how you create value and how the property values are protected from a lot of different things. I mean, things like zoning and political powers take away some of your rights. But the reality is, it's that bundle of laws that protects your right to own something. And that's what the great thing is about the United States is we have those laws. We have those systems that help people succeed. I think it's wonderful. A lot of my clients and friends that came from other countries and made a living in the United States, they don't understand what we complain about because of where they came from. They see that the greatest opportunity is still here right now. And so we got to see from their point of view that we're taking too much for granted. Be grateful for what you got. You might be able to do all sorts of things if you're open to learning and you're open to education.
Clearly, there's advantages to trying to make it work, trying to find a way to get into your first house, whatever that means. How do you then speak to the agent side? Because again, you've been an agent, broker, owner for over 50 years, and you've worked with some of the best. So what are some of those things that those really good agents are doing to kind of create that value? Because a lot of times the industry has changed so much that we're not sure how it's going to be.
I think the agent's role is to educate or help educate the client in a lot of ways using their own education to make good decisions for themselves. It's being able to ask the right questions, it's being able to listen, and it's being able to read the body language. It's not about selling or it's not about trying to convince people to do something they don't want to do. It's helping them create the right housing solution for what their needs are. And it's helping them discover what their needs are. And so it's helping people with the discovery process and it's helping them grow. And the challenge to the agents is to continue to be educated. Everything changes. What you knew last year is not necessarily true this year. But if I was to change the education of agents and stop doing all this continuing education and taking a lot of these classes, I'd have a lot more classes on relationship building and understanding people's needs. And so I think we're in a people business, but being in a people business, your job is to ask all the questions to help those people make the right decision. Not about selling them, and using your education to be able to help them discover what's important to them.
This gets talked about a lot. There's a lot of changes and disruption currently going on with just real estate in general, and especially the role of the agent. AI has kind of just come out real fast, real hard. How do you think that is either something that can help or hurt or a liability? Like, how do you think that's gonna, if you had to look, 5, 10, 15 years in the future, how do you think that's going to change the role?
I think the AI is about questions and getting the right questions. And if you can get the right questions, it'll throw a lot of information at you. But the more information that people get, the more they need the agent with the common sense and the experience to help them sort through that information and pick out what's relevant to them. Your experience as an agent on interacting with people, the stories you can tell of how you helped other people succeed, those stories will be remembered by the client long after what the report was that they got from AI. So the more that you develop a trust relationship, the more that you have the skill. And I think the unfortunate thing in the real estate industry is that we have a lot of agents that don't have that skill. and that are given advice. And you have to be careful that you have the right match with the agent who you feel you can trust and you feel that agent has the skills to help you make a good decision. Not just for you, but the people making decisions are making decisions for their families.
And do you think that that kind of speaks to like the discrepancy in agents? Because one of the stats that's out there right now is, and I think this was an NAR stat that came out, which was, I don't know if it was 1 million or 2 million agents nationwide, but about 20% are doing all the business, and you have the vast 80% who are doing zero, if if one transaction.
I wouldn't judge, I mean, I think it's great that agents do a lot of transactions, but I wouldn't judge an agent on the number of transactions. I would judge the agent on the quality that they can bring to your decision to make the kinds of decisions that are important to you. Lots of times, an agent's background and information that they bring from the other jobs that they came from can be more relevant than what they may learn about a particular real estate technique or something. So when you look at the real estate industry, it has been an industry where second careers or third careers have brought a lot of people into this business. Our longest agent has been with us 44 years, then 32, then 26. We are so fortunate to have people who stayed in this business, who made it their career. I often say if I can get the agents that we have to talk to each other, I don't know if there's a problem they can't solve. And it's about their life experiences more than it's about a particular technique.
With all that, what's the next big thing you're working on?
I think for me, the next big thing is I'm looking for a challenge to do something that I haven't done yet. Maybe it certainly would be around a charity or something like that. And something that I felt was really a challenge that not everybody could do. And maybe my talents, bringing my talents to the forefront to help somebody get over that hump.
Well, Jack, appreciate you coming in today. I think we're about out of time, but we'll be chatting again soon. I think this will be the first of many.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. And it's been a pleasure doing this.
All right. Thank you. Here we go.